And I see we're live. So welcome back, one and all. This is the public hearing for the Environment and Transportation Committee. I'm the chair, Kumar Barve. I'm joined by my vice chair, Dana Stein, and by much of the committee. So we have what ought to be a relatively quick and easy public hearing for today. The bills are House Bill 44, the Clean Cars Act of 2021, which is a bill that I believe, if it didn't pass, it was close to passing and we ran out of time last year. House Bill 127, Delegate Boyce's Maryland Paint Stewardship Act, which I believe did pass last year, and then Delegate Learman's Plastic Bag Reduction Act, which passed last year, ran out of time. So without any further ado, I see Treasurer Hidalgo here. Why don't you take it away? You've got 4 minutes, and we should see a timer someplace, right? Staff, do we have our timer up? Hold on, up. And here we go. We have our staff. So grab that little mouse and slide it all the way over to the left so you can minimize the timer. And Dave, you've got 2 and 2.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chair Barve and Vice Chair Stein and members of the committee.
Go for it.
I want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to have this present this bill again. As many of you know, House Bill 44, the Clean Cars Act, we've passed year over year, just dealing with trying to get to our 300,000 ZEV mandate goal by the year 2025. So last year, you remember, we got this bill into subcommittee and we had a lot of different parties. That year was more complicated. We got a lot of parties all to agree on a way forward. And just as that happened, we shut down because of COVID. So the whole session went down. So we didn't get the bill passed, despite the fact that I think we got pretty much everybody to agree on it. I have a panel today, and they'll have some videos to show. Hopefully that'll work out okay with Trish.
Have you worked it out with? Did you work it out with her first of all?
I think Molly did. So hopefully that will be okay. I think she should have videos.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're saying you want to share a screen?
No, I'm saying that my panel has a couple of videos to show, and you should have.
Well, it's up to you, Mr. Chairman. I did not prepare for that.
Well, if we share a screen, it means we lose our timer. So, I mean, Trish, can we do that? Can we do? Is it a big logistical nightmare?
Yeah, I can run the timer on my phone.
Okay.
Well, when the time comes for presenters for the rest of the panel, I mean, I don't want to.
Just let us know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You should have it, and Molly, I'm sure, can get you the videos. But essentially, what this bill does is, as we get closer to 2025, this is a 3-year bill. So this will probably be the last of the electric vehicle excise tax credit bills that this committee sees for at least 3 years, and it may be the last we see for quite a while. So what is different about this bill, and I asked the committee to indulge me, is that there are a lot of moving parts this year. And the reason there are a lot of moving parts is because we're in COVID. So from a funding perspective, there's a lot of moving parts as to where we generate revenues. And I have had conversations with the chair of appropriations, and she's working on finding some really good funding sources. So I know that is in the works. We also have C funding and Transportation Trust Fund funding that we're looking for. So that's one issue that we're working on. The next issue really is that we have an MSRP cap that's a little bit higher than we've had in the past, and that's specifically designed to help jumpstart the electric pickup truck market. I know we had a video last year, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Rivian is here to talk about that. And then we also have Tesla here, and we have General Motors, and we have a new one that's going to talk, and that's Arcimoto, and they're a new company that has like a trike. They'll talk a little bit about that. It's at a much lower price point, and they're really excited. All American-based companies trying to get up and running. As most of you know, that the transportation sector is currently the #1 greenhouse gas emitter. So that's why it's so important for us to transition, let alone the MOU that we have from 2011, which I think a lot of the subcommittee and some of the subcommittee members were briefed on over the interim when we had a briefing. Again, this is a moving target, so I want to thank the indulgence of the committee and the subcommittee on some amendments as we move forward. It's an exciting space. It's a space that is absolutely exploding. In the next 2 years, you're going to see more and more electric vehicles. The prices are going to come down. The battery packs are going up. The battery pack sizes are going down. The mileages are going up. It's really amazing. It's really an amazing place to be. It's akin to the Industrial Revolution, and what we're going to see in the next 2 years is going to make the last 5 years seem like child's play. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to be here with all my panel members. And if anybody has any questions, I can either answer them now or we can go through the panel.
No, I think since you have a small panel, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Well, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 people who signed up favorable and 1 who signed up favorable with amendments. We'll just go through the first 4 people and then we'll entertain questions, and then I'll take the person who signed up as favorable with amendments and we'll entertain questions to him. And I think there are no opponents. So let's start with Jonathan Miller. Mr. Miller, you've got, welcome to the Environment and Transportation Committee. You've got 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, East Coast. My name is John Miller, testifying on behalf of Arcimoto in favor of House Bill 44, the Clean Cars Act of 2021. Our mission at Arcimoto is to catalyze the shift to sustainable transportation by building EVs every American can afford. When you look at vehicles today, there is a big disconnect between how they are advertised and how we really drive every day. We love the idea of summiting the Himalayas in a 7-person SUV, but that's just a fantasy. An honest commercial would show a middle-class American driving to work, meeting friends, running errands, going to the gym, picking up groceries, and doing it all over again the next day. We build our vehicles for them. Some stats from real-world drivers. 90% of trips today have only 1 or 2 people in the vehicle. So who needs 7 seats? The average American drives 30 miles a day. The median trip distance is less than 5 miles. It turns out when you design a vehicle for real life, you need a lot less vehicle, which keeps costs down and has the added advantage of being really easy to park. The Arcimoto Fun Utility Vehicle, our consumer product, is a stable platform 3-wheel vehicle with comfortable seating for 2, a 75-mile-per-hour top speed you can drive on the highway, and a range of 100 city miles per charge. It won't climb mountains, it won't drive cross-country on a single charge, but by passing the Clean Cars Act of 2021, it will get the people of Maryland to work every day more affordably and efficiently than any EV on the market today with more than 2 wheels. Thank you very much. I do have a 30-second video. I don't think sharing is allowed. Delegate.
Yeah, I mean,
I've got it. I've got it in the chat here.
What's that, Trish?
I believe we have access to the videos now.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead and let's go ahead and share that. And Dave, just
30 seconds on the video.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Molly, are you able to share them? Here we go.
One little hack workaround, if you just want to use the chat, I drop there, you can, oh, there we go.
Mhm.
Solution. Well done.
Okay, who's next? Dave? Oh, excuse me. Josh Fisher is next. Josh, you out there? Is Josh Fisher out there? Okay, we'll go to Chris Nevers. Chris?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, my screen froze there for a second. All right, if I
Okay.
jump back in.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Josh Fisher, and I'm here on behalf of the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, which represents the automakers that produce about 99% of all the cars and light-duty trucks sold in the U.S. We'd like to thank Delegate Fraser Hidalgo for his leadership on this issue and express our support for House Bill 44, which is really going to provide critical funding for Maryland's EV excise tax credit. As you know, the program is so popular that it ran out of funding on the first day it was appropriated back in fiscal year 2019. So as automakers continue to make significant investments to bring more EVs to the marketplace, now is the time for Maryland to reaffirm its commitment to putting 300,000 electric vehicles on the road by 2025. Following the depletion of the incentive back in 2019, EV sales dropped immediately by 23%, which is just further evidence that incentives really do stimulate the consumer market for electric vehicles. So it's critical for automakers and states to work together to spur zero-emission vehicle adoption. Our members are investing billions of dollars in EV technology as part of our commitment to an electrified future, and this bill signals that Maryland is also committed to achieving that goal. So with the availability of models increasing rapidly, there'll be more options to meet a wider variety of customer needs, and in general, all states, but especially those with EV incentives and growing infrastructure investments, will have more available EVs for sale. So we request a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, it's interesting, while you were speaking, Josh, I got a breaking news thing from the Washington Post. Apparently General Motors has announced they're going to stop making gas-powered passenger cars and SUVs by 2035. So that's interesting timing. Okay, next, Chris Nevers. Chris? Is Chris out there?
Great. Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, first, I was wondering if my presentation can get pulled up.
You have how long is your video?
I was just going to run through the presentation. I had problems uploading the video.
Okay. Well, you know what? It's just go ahead with your spoken testimony and.
Okay. All right. Well, I'd like to thank the committee and Delegate Fraser Hidalgo for the bill. Rivian, just a little background. Rivian, we're a U.S.-based company. Our mission is nothing short of keeping the world adventurous forever. The forever part really means sustainability and electrification. Rivian strongly supports HB 44, especially the increased MSRP cap as it pertains really to trucks. And why does that matter? Well, trucks are generally a little more expensive than vehicles, and the MSRP cap is justified, especially when we consider the added battery size and capability of the trucks, included towing, second use, greater range, and the fact that they displace more CO2 than past car EVs. And that is that the idea here is these rebates can convince folks to step out of a pickup truck into an EV pickup truck, and they will lose none of the utility. And I would like to rebut slightly here that in real life, people do buy their vehicles based on what they think they need to do. And not many folks will have more than one vehicle. So if you can only have one vehicle, it better do everything you need to do. And average range is great. But when you look at a vehicle, people really think about how far they're going to have to travel in a given time period, not their average distance. So with that being said, we do support the bill. And to the extent that MSRP caps are adjusted in the proposal, we would ask that trucks are allowed to keep the higher MSRP cap, largely due to the increased displacement of CO2 emissions and the fact that you're expanding into a new segment of buyer when you attract pickup truck buyers. We've seen from our pre-orders that almost all of our pre-order, or a large majority of our pre-order customers, are first-time EV buyers, and we think that's important. Again, thank you for your time, and we support HB 44.
Thank you. Next, David Murray. David, you out there?
Thank you, Chair Barbe and members of the committee. My name is David Murray. I serve as Executive Director of the Chesapeake Solar and Storage Association. We represent the solar installers and developers throughout Maryland. We are favorable with amendments to this bill. We take issue with where the funds are coming from, and that's the Strategic Energy Investment Fund, also known as the SEIF. Right now, the Clean Energy Jobs Act was set up in order to spur low-income solar projects should we not meet our solar targets each year. And right now, this bill as drafted would not only spread those funds to other energy resources and projects, but it would also fund this program. And we think that this bill as drafted would significantly inhibit our ability not only to meet our solar energy goals, but also take funds away from low-income solar, which is a key equity piece of the Clean Energy Jobs Act. And for those reasons, we take issue with HB 44. But we do think that the current language that allocates alternative compliance payment dollars could be adjusted, and particularly by broadening those projects to not only low-income individuals, but low to moderate income individuals, as well as overburdened communities, which in our written testimony, we go into further detail on what that would be. And with that, I will yield the rest of my time to questions, and thank you for this opportunity to testify.
Okay, thank you. I kind of screwed up. I meant to only take the purely favorable people. So I'll take everybody who's favorable with amendments, which is one other person. That's Robert Erdman, who's with us, and you're signed up favorable with amendments. So take it away. You've got 2 minutes. Welcome to the committee.
Hello, Chairman Barve. Can you
go right ahead?
Oh, okay. Chair Barve, members of the House Environment and Transportation Committee. My name is Robert Erdman. I come before you in support of House Bill 44 with amendments. I've been driving electric for almost 8 years now. Last year, I testified for this bill. The main point then was to increase the funding so it wouldn't run out. A good incentive is one that consumers can count on. To make the case, we looked at all the benefits that EVs provide. Now we have a white paper. My written testimony has a one-page summary, as well as a link to the detailed white paper. So climate change and pollution have an outsized impact on the LMI community. These communities are often located in high-risk areas for climate change disasters, such as urban heat islands and low-lying coastal areas. These populations often live in older housing or by busy roads that are exposed to increased air pollution. Replacing gas vehicles with EVs slow climate change while at the same time decreasing air pollution, all of which results in a relatively bigger impact for LMI communities. EVs are better in every way but cost. The upfront cost is still more than $12,000 greater than comparable ICE vehicles. Incentives are still needed until the cost of EVs fall further. It's too early to limit the types of EVs that can get incentives. Last year, just over 2% of new vehicles sold in Maryland were EVs. Replacing fossil fuel vehicles results in benefits for everyone. That's why we have an incentive, not to help somebody buy a fancy Tesla. It's because each gas vehicle that's replaced by an EV results in benefits for everyone. Removing the MSRP cap from the bill would improve the benefits for everyone. It's the bigger, more expensive ICE vehicles that generate more pollution and greenhouse gases. This year, we'll see electric pickups go on sale for the first time, as we've heard. So it'd be a pity if they weren't covered by this bill. So I respectively request a favorable report for the amendments on House 44. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. We have a number of people who are want to ask questions. The first question will, for the sponsor and all these panelists, will go to the vice chair of the committee, Dana Stein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and delegate. Thanks so much for bringing this bill. It is absolutely essential. So thank you again. I do have two questions. The first is, do you have an estimate or a range of the number of EVs that would be incentivized, for the purchase of under this bill, given the funding that you're proposing?
So it's a great question. And I would say, one, to kind of address the funding. Again, we are looking, in the past, we took money out of the Transportation Trust Fund, NC, but because of the Clean Energy Jobs Act of 2019, we're trying to redirect where we get some of that funding based on the other gentleman's concerns as well. So as far as the number of vehicles, it all depends on the amount of funding. I would say it could be anywhere from a few thousand vehicles to more, but given the totality of where the state is as a whole, I don't imagine we're going to be at the the up end of the $26 million mark. So it's probably going to be significantly less than that. It'd probably be maybe 2,000 to 3,000 vehicles, maybe something along those lines. It just really depends on what kind of funding makes sense as we learn more from the appropriation side about what we can actually do and keep everybody whole.
Okay, all right, thank you. My second question is just could you address the issue that Mr. Murray raised in his testimony about, I guess, using the some of the
SEEF money.
Strategic
Yeah.
Energy Investment Fund for broadening it to low to moderate as opposed to just being the way it is now?
Right. Again, that language was put in earlier before we kind of really had a lot of these moving targets met. So again, we're going to find other funding sources for that, and the chair of appropriations is helping to find some sources to allocate some more money so that we don't get into that, because we don't want to do that. I don't want to necessarily just take money away from folks that want to put solar panels on their house where that fund has been set aside. It was a leftover from last year. So, but we're going to address that. We're going to address that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Delegate Barbe, you're on mute, but I think I.
Oh, I'm sorry,
managed to read your
Delegate.
lips.
You're right, Delegate Love. Yeah,
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Delegate Fraser Hidalgo, for bringing this bill. My question is for the gentleman from Arcimoto. What is your price point? And then a follow-up question, if you could talk to us a little bit, really anybody, about the challenges that you have as a startup. And I know there are a lot of challenges, but more specifically as they relate to this bill and the impact that this bill will have on them.
So thank you. The Arcimoto FUV right now starts at 17,900. We're in low volume production, delivering to Florida, California, Oregon, and Washington. We're based in Eugene, Oregon. And I would say the big challenge for us is simply the education on three-wheel vehicles. I'm sure the vast majority of people have never driven one. Before I started Arcimoto, I had never driven one. So what's beautiful about this EV revolution is we're going to see all kinds of interesting form factor. We're not tied to the sort of engineering that came with ICE vehicles. So it allows, what we're going to see is a marketplace that has a lot of different vehicles, and the laws basically were written for two-wheel motorcycles and four-wheel cars. So basic education on the safety and stability and everyday usability of these vehicles. Legislatively, we've made great progress. All three-wheel vehicles are classified, quote, as a motorcycle. But I have the number here, in say it's about 35 states, no helmet is required on our vehicle. 14 states, a helmet is required for riders under 18, and I think 5 states, a helmet is required. And we've actually made great progress in changing those laws. The other probably major issue I would say is because this three-wheel vehicle is considered a motorcycle, in a number of states, a motorcycle endorsement is required. However, we have double seat belts. We have a comfortable seat and a foot brake. So it's not, there's no balance or leaning required. So it's not like a two-wheel motorcycle in any way, other than perhaps the throttle control. So in California, Michigan, Oregon, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, Iowa, Missouri, and we're in the next legislative session in Florida, we are getting those, those states already have no motorcycle endorsement is required. There are carve-outs in the legislation for three-wheel stable vehicles with seat belts and with the seat versus a saddle that you would sit astride, if that makes sense. So for us,
somebody needs to mute themselves.
Are you in?
Are you? Trish, you need to mute yourself.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Okay, next question goes to Delegate Wyval.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question may not be relevant, Delegate, if you change or amend the bill, but do we know what the balance is in the C fund currently?
I don't know what the current balance is. For
It's a lot of money.
fiscal note, it talks a little bit about it, but I don't know if that's the current balance because some of the money's coming in, but I think it was somewhere north of 36 million. I can
I
get an
didn't
answer.
see the
to you and get
balance
back
in
to
the
you.
fund, though, in the fiscal note.
I'm sorry?
I didn't see the balance of the fund in the fiscal note.
Yeah, I can get an answer for you, Delegate. I'm happy to.
All
look
right.
into
I mean, to me, it seems appropriate that that would be an appropriate source of funds. So if you find another source, what are you looking at? General fund money or what?
You know, it may be a combination of a couple of different sources. I'm not on appropriations, and my wonderful delegate Maggie McIntosh, that was the chair of the Environment and Transportation Committee years ago when we first started these, she's going to work to find that funding source. I'm not exactly sure where she's going, but you know, what can I say? It's Chair McIntosh, so she'll find something. I'm sure you know. I'm sure you, so there'll be something. And I do think that Delegate Wyval, this is probably, because this is a 3-year bill, this gets us really, really close to that 2025 mark. And so my guess is, unless we can generate or find some other kind of source of dedicated funding, this is probably going to be the last year for electric vehicles, at least for the next 3 years. And then we'll kind of see going forward. And I will say also that as time goes on, we're getting more and more parity. So the cars are getting less and less expensive.
Okay, well, I think you answered this
Thank you.
question. So
Thank you.
Delegate Healy has the next question. But you need to unmute yourself, Ann.
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Thank you. My question is also for Mr. Miller about his vehicle. The concern about, does it meet like safety standards, like rollover and things like that automobiles, if you're not going to be categorized as a motorcycle, then do you meet the standards for safety, crash tests and all of that?
Yeah, great question. So our goal is to create the safest motorcycle class vehicle on the road, which admittedly isn't saying much given the history of motorcycles, but we have several key advantages already with obvious stability, the visibility. A number of motorcycle crashes is always about, can you see these bikes on the road? And we stand about as tall as a small SUV, and also maneuverability. In our testing with Sandy Monroe, a Detroit engineer, in the Moose test simulation, we have passed this test, which is a Scandinavian test, Swedish test, where it's what would happen if you're driving at, say, 45 miles an hour and a moose suddenly appears on the road. And that means you have to turn. It's a great YouTube video if you want to watch the fails, the Toyota RAV4 failed. Many trucks, SUVs, and cars on the road today fail this test. So that's like a distinct advantage of this very maneuverable, lightweight vehicle has. In terms of FMVSS, we're compliant with 106, 108, 111, 116, 119, 120, 122, 123, 205.
That means nothing to me. Okay.
No, fair enough.
What does that acronym stand for?
Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards, FMVSS.
Okay.
So motorcycles don't go through the same crash testing as cars, but we have done extra testing for due care, extra testing that would apply to passenger cars. For example, the FUV steel upper frame meets FMVSS 216A. That's the roof crush resistance standard that's measured to improve safety in the event of a rollover.
Okay.
So that's one of the benefits of this great steel frame we have. Each FUV includes dual dual seat belts, one's 3-point, one's 2-point, with welded seatbelt anchorages. So we're not held to the same standards as cars, but we've done due care in a number of areas to make sure it is as safe as possible. And of course,
Thank you very much.
the other factor of safety is what happens when your vehicle hits something else? And the data on larger vehicles is, they're sadly much more dangerous for pedestrians and other vehicles on the road, where I think we offer a distinct advantage, especially when we move forward toward autonomous vehicles in the years to come. We're going to see.
Okay, well, I think I answered her question. So let me go to the next delegate. Delegate Neil Parrott has a question.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I did have a question, I guess, first of all, just about the content of the bill. I see that it's $1,800 maximum rebate, looks like for the car and also for electric vehicle recharging equipment. So does that mean if someone bought a new car and then they put in their garage electric charging, would they have the ability to get $3,600 in rebate?
So the bill breaks it up into 3 separate categories, Delegate Parrott. One is the credit for the car, which can be up to $3,000. For an all electric, and then you have a plug-in hybrid, which is $1,500, and then if you want to put in equipment to charge, then you can get a rebate for charging equipment as well. So there's 3 different aspects depending on what you need. Not everybody needs all 3. Some just need 1, some need 2. Just depends.
Oh, I see. If it's all electric, they'd get the 3,000 plus the 1,500 because it's.
No, they only get the 3. No, they only get if the car that they purchased is brand new, and they can get up to $3,000 if it's electric only. If it's a hybrid plug-in, so it's electric and gas, then they can get up to $1,500. They have to pick one path or the other.
Yeah, so it's one or the other of those, and then in addition to that, they could get the 1,800 if they're installing new equipment in their house, for instance.
Depending on the cost of the equipment or their business. Yeah, I mean, some of those can cost that. Some of them are far less. It depends on what's been done. I mean, so it just depends on, from an electrical perspective, what's been done to your house or your garage, how close the electricity is, what the electrician's going to charge, what kind of equipment you use. It gets complicated, but it's not a simple question is what I'm saying.
Well, if it costs more than 1,800, they could get the 1,800 for that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last question I had was on line 17. It talks about basically that we're going to make sure that this goes to low income people as well, at least 50%. It seems like that would be kind of hard to manage.
I think this is in reference to the public utility funding. This is in reference to the alternative compliance funds.
Is this something that would go away if you stop using the CEF money?
Yeah, it could. I mean, and traditionally, we've done both. You know, we have done CEF money in the past, but because 2019's bill passed, I think there's more sensitivity to trying not to take too much money out of that CEF fund.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I think Delegate Wyville has another question. Or did you just not put your hand down?
No, I did lower my hand.
Oh, okay. So you're good?
Yes, thank you.
It looks like Delegate Siliberti has a question. Barry, you need to unmute yourself.
All right, how's that?
That's good.
Beautiful. Basically, how much do these 3-wheelers weigh? What would you estimate?
One sec, about 1,200 pounds. Let me pull up my full specs here. And it has the battery runs right through the middle, which is the heaviest part, dual independent motors up front, 1,300 pounds. So really stable, hugs the road. Don't ever have to worry about tipping. So it's very stable.
You don't have to worry unless you collide with something that's 3,000 pounds, but that's for another day. But
yeah, we all have to worry about that.
Exactly. And Delegate Celebrity, there is another, just so you know, Arcimoto's has a very unique product, but there are other unique products. Aptera is another company that's a 3-wheeled vehicle that is a closed cabin. You can look at them, and I'm happy to help you look at them. They're a closed cabin and they seat two people side by side. Jonathan, I think yours can seat two people side by side, or are they just front and back?
Two people front to back. That keeps us nice and narrow, so you can slip into really small parking places, which is great in DC or Baltimore.
Yeah, and Delegate Celebrity, there are other companies that are going to be coming out with three-wheeled products as well that that are really amazing things. Things you only think you'd see on sci-fi shows, but it's coming.
We have one in Baltimore. You guys are welcome to test drive.
Yay!
Mr. Miller, I've got a question for Mr. Miller, and that is, when are you expecting to get crash test data from the National Highway Safety Administration?
As I said already, the motorcycles aren't subject to the same sort of crash test that cars are. So we've done our due care.
Okay.
And again,
All right.
our roof rack does meet the rollover standard.
Okay. Any further questions for any of these presenters? I don't see any, so thank you all very much. Nobody's signed up in opposition. That will conclude the public hearing on House Bill 44.
Thank you.
Let's proceed to House Bill 127, Delegate Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Vice Chair and committee members. Good afternoon, and for the record, I am Regina T. Boyce, almost forgot my name, here to testify on HB 127, Maryland Paint Stewardship. HB 127 establishes the paint care program in Maryland. There are currently 11 established programs across the country: California, Colorado, Connecticut, DC, Maine, Minnesota, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington. If passed again, Maryland will be the 12th established program. Last year, as HB 890, this committee passed this legislation 16-4, and it passed the House 98-35. Waste Today states that 10% of all paint purchased in the United States, about 78 million gallons per year, go unused. According to the Paint Stewardship Institute, it costs an average of $8 per gallon to recycle, which means it costs more than 5 million to manage end of life in the United States. About 80% of the paint can be recycled into new paint. Paint care was created by the American Coatings Association paint manufacturers with the goal of decreasing paint waste and recycling more post-consumer paint by setting up drop-off locations in each state. The program accepts architectural paint, specifically latex house paint, oil-based paint, paint primers, stains, sealers, and varnishes, and some shellacs at 5 gallons or less. The program will be funded by a fee, not a deposit or tax, placed on each container of paint sold in the state. The fee fully funds the program, including the yearly independent audit. Paint Care partners with paint and hardware stores, as well as solid waste household hazardous programs to identify and create voluntary drop-off sites. Partnerships with hazardous household waste programs, collection programs, reduce yearly cost in transportation, recycling, and proper disposal of leftover paint. Post-consumer paint is often the #1 product by volume and cost coming into the hazardous household hazardous waste programs. EPR, or extended producer responsibility laws, are becoming more common. The United States has 119 EPR laws on 14 products in 33 states and DC. EPR products include items such as batteries, mattresses, medication, carpet, e-products, and syringes, for example. The bill before you today is an EPR law requesting establishment for Maryland for paint. So I just want to thank you again for your time. Thank you again for your consideration for HB 400. And I thank you again, hopefully, for a favorable report.
Okay, so we have, I'm going to take all the two other people who signed up in favor of the bill, Carolyn Parsa and Pam Casemeyer. So Carolyn, you're first. Are you in the waiting room?
Oh, I'm here. Hello.
Okay, go for it. You've got 2 minutes. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Honorable Chair Barve and committee members. My name is Carolyn Parsa, and I'm testifying on behalf of the over 75,000 members and supporters of the Maryland Sierra Club. The Sierra Club strongly supports CB 127 as a priority bill for a number of reasons. First is that collection, reuse, and recycling of leftover paint in every county will increase. In Maryland, 18 counties and the city of Baltimore offer paint drop-offs. However, they're usually at one location per county, and the frequency rates are from one day every other year to every day of the year. 5 counties do not offer paint collection at all, but this bill would set up convenient drop-off days and locations for residents in all counties. Also, this program would save money for the counties in 2 ways. First, diverting paint from the landfill saves money. Second, counties that currently pay for paint recycling programs will no longer have to do so. And for example, Anne Arundel County will save over $120,000 each year. Prince George's County would save over $165,000 each year, every year. This program would create jobs in the Maryland recycling industry, in the collection, transportation, and processing of the paint. And as Delegate Boyce mentioned, it works on the principle of extended producer responsibility, EPR, with accountability and transparency. The MDE must approve plans submitted by manufacturers to cover goals for reuse and recycling, as well as budgets and overall program effectiveness.
If you can wind up your testimony, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you. We ask for a favorable report.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Pam Casemeyer, welcome back.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm here on behalf of the American Coatings Association, which is the paint and coatings industry trade organization. We have been working with members of this committee, with Delegate Boyce and with others on this legislation for a few years. This committee has done tremendous work, and last year we were very pleased to finally mold it into a piece of legislation that had addressed a number of concerns over the years that had been raised into a piece of legislation that everybody was comfortable with. I'm also here just to answer questions if there's some remaining, given that most of this committee may remember this bill from the last few years. But a couple of real quick things, which were already mentioned, but to just reinforce, MDE does have to approve the plan for this program and does have to make sure that the financing, the structure is all accountable. There's independent financial audits and accountability to be sure that the funds are used accordingly. It will be able to be utilized by local governments in conjunction with the program. As you all know, under this pandemic, you've been focusing on recycling a lot anyway. This is a challenging product, and it has also caused a lot of, the budgets for recycling in your local jurisdictions are challenged as there are, but as it is, this will help ease some of that potentially. The last piece being this program is very transparent, and you can find all kinds of data online, but almost like 90% of the collected product ends up recycled. And then the last thing is, though it focuses more on the smaller levels, they do bulk pickups, so contractors and the like also have the opportunity to take advantage of the program. And with that, I'll end my request for a favorable report and movement from the committee.
Okay, we have so far 3 questions. First, we'll go to Delegate Weigel, then Otto, then Healy. So Delegate Weigel is first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know last year the estimates on the increase or the fee on price per gallon of paint was anywhere from 75 cents to 99 cents. Is that still the case?
I think that's roughly the case. The bill would require a plan to be submitted to the state with an estimate for the fee or the assessment provided with the program. But that is generally the rates that are found in the other jurisdictions. It's a bit small. It's a bit less than that for the smaller containers up to a 5 gallon, which I think is the 99 cents. Yes.
Well, last year it listed larger than a gallon at up to $1.99. So my concern with this bill, as it has been in past years, is that I live in Washington County, so 6 miles on Interstate 81, I can be either in Pennsylvania or West Virginia. And if I'm a large painting contractor, I'm going to buy my paint in either one of those states. And if I'm environmentally conscious, I'm going to drop it in Maryland to be recycled. So my concern is the negative impact this will potentially have on our businesses again in Maryland and relative to our bordering state. So thank you.
Well, Delegate Otto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've dealt with this bill for a couple of years now, and I think Delegate Wyville asked similar questions that I had in my mind of what the expense is. Further, who would change these fees? Is that going to be the role of the administration or the Department of Environment, or is this association that's collecting them can arbitrarily change the fees per gallon? Or
so I just want to point out before I know Pam wants to jump in, is that each state that has established this program has a different rate, and that rate is based on surveys of how much paint is even coming in, how much paint is even being purchased, to then set the rate, which goes into a trust fund. And every dime that is collected goes straight to the program as a wash. So they can't decide that they had a profit one year and made $10,000 extra. So
yeah, the state has to approve the structure. And the other thing, with respect to the large contractors, it's not placed on the large volume contract purchases. It's the smaller down to 5 gallons. So bulk purchasing is not included in the assessment. But at the end of the day, the structure for the financial structure for the program has to be approved by the department. Annually, there's an audited financial statement where they need to demonstrate that the expenses match the revenue. And then there can be some adjustments in either direction. Some states have had small increases at various years. There's been a couple of states where there's been decreases. And so that accountability goes through annually through the department to make sure that the revenues remain essentially neutral. That's in the bill.
who determines the salaries of these administrative personnel? Is that determined by the Department of Environment, or is it some board we've established with this legislation? Or
so the structure of the program, again, I don't think it's granular to any given specific individual, but the costs of the operational costs of the program are part of what is submitted to the department for assessment and for approval. So they view the structure of the program, they view how it's going to be administered and what those costs are, what those estimated costs are, and year to year it's reevaluated by the department. So it would include all operating costs. And they have the ability to ask questions, get more granular if they so choose, but they ultimately approve the program.
all right, these are important questions we need to consider when we're giving somebody additional taxing authority, and that's what it is. It's a tax on the paint. I mean, basically. So, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, next question goes to Delegate Healy and then Delegate Learman.
Thank you very much. My question is for the Sierra Club person. I wanted to ask about the statistics you cited comparing Anne Arundel and Prince George's. I mean, Prince George's has got a much higher population than Anne Arundel, and yet the difference in the total cost for this, or the total saving that they would get from this program doesn't seem that great. Can you explain that, please?
These are numbers that I got from the recycling coordinators in those counties. So I wouldn't have the information to actually explain those numbers, but they are in the written testimony along with the person who gave them to me.
Okay, I see the chart in your written testimony. And, I see the amounts, but it's just surprising to me, just knowing the relative size of the two counties, that there's such a small difference in the actual savings for each county.
Yeah, it could have to do with the convenience. People maybe aren't turning in as much paint in Prince George's County because the location's not convenient.
Okay. But you really have no background data for that.
I don't have any background data for that.
Thank you very much.
Delegate Hilly, can I just add quickly, some of those costs factored in, especially like in Baltimore City, I think we have 2 or 4 hazardous waste days per year. And so some of that cost also includes not just how much paint somebody drops off, but the personnel that they need. If it's on a Saturday, is that time and a half, the gas used to, drive to a certain location, the pickup and all those things. And then potentially, depending on how they're recycling, if they're just putting it in a landfill or sending it to the incinerator, then whatever that fee is to then put it there. So it's all those fees, if that's helpful, that is considered when we talk about who's saving what.
Okay, yeah, it's just that the chart isn't.
I understand.
Clear. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
And I want to thank you for your bill and that you've done so much work on it.
Thank you so much, Delegate.
Delegate Learman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Delegate Boyce, for bringing this bill. You are a member of our waste reduction and recycling work group this past interim, and although that work group isn't taking positions on bills, we did hear a lot about the need to make sure that everybody sort of has a stake in reducing waste, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Absolutely did.
And one of the conversations, a lot of the conversations did revolve around the need for the companies that are producing this, because they have the most ability to decide what their products are going to look like and how they'll be handled and what they're producing. Those companies are really important factors, are really important players in making sure that we have good methods for responsible disposal and recycling. Would you agree with that?
That is absolutely so. And I think that's why this works, is because the manufacturer said we should do something about this.
Right. Well, thank you for bringing this bill. I appreciate it. And it's very much in line with what we heard during the interim. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate.
I've got a question for Pam Casemeyer. Pam, I just want you to reaffirm this. Of the money that goes into this pot, none of it is going to end up in the pockets of the companies that paint, correct?
That's correct. There's a 501c3. I think that's the right. I think it's 3. There's a nonprofit entity that's formed.
Okay, but the answer is none of the money is going to go into the pockets of the companies that make the.
No, okay. It's a totally separate.
Okay, so if that's the case, if they're not going to make a profit on this, and if they're not making a profit on it, and it is a slight increase in the price of their product, they have an economic incentive to keep that charge as low as possible, don't they?
Yes, they absolutely do.
Okay, that's all I had. Any other questions? All right, I think that concludes the public hearing on House Bill 127. We will proceed to House Bill 314, the Plastic Bag Reduction Act. Brooke, you have the floor. You've got 4 minutes.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello, everybody. It's lovely to see you. I have here HB 314, the Plastic Bag Reduction Act. I'm happy to bring this back to all of us. I'm going to be brief because we had a long hearing on this last year, and just say that this is not the bill as introduced last year. This is the bill that we passed last year. So we are building off of what we passed last year. This legislation bans stores or restaurants from distributing, or other entities from distributing carry-out plastic bags that are under 4 mils thickness to customers at the point of sale. As you all know, and I think has actually become even more apparent since COVID started, plastic bags are everywhere. I was actually at Safeway the other day, and there was a plastic bag stuck in the tree outside of Safeway. I felt like, wow, come on, guys, you can't even clean up your own trees. They litter our neighborhoods, their streets, our communities, our waterways. We generate approximately almost 12 million tons of solid waste a year, and about 13% comes from plastics, including bags. In my own district, I'll say it's really impossible to escape the sight of plastic bags, whether they're blowing down the street, toward the water, stuck in trees, floating in the harbor. And plastic bags cannot be recycled by any municipal or county government in Maryland. They are not accepted in curbside recycling because they destroy the machinery that does recycling. And we showed pictures and had told stories last year of the damage that these plastic bags it cost to our local governments. And of course, we are paying for this in our tax dollars. We are paying for trash remediation and litter pickup every day. Businesses bear the cost of giving away these bags for free at checkout when they could be charging for them, like some of the stores do. And amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, I think this becomes even more critical. Studies are showing that with the influx of carry out and delivery, the use of single-use plastics has exponentially increased. By some estimates, there has been a 30% increase in plastic waste in 2020. There's no evidence to suggest that reusable bags are any less safe than single-use plastic bags, and the increased use of disposable plastic bags is short-sighted and ignores the long-term environmental and health consequences. So this legislation is very sensitive to the burdens on business in the current economy and provides businesses more than a year to meet the requirements of this legislation. It does not go into effect until July 1, 2022. So it gives businesses time to work cost adjustments to switching to paper bags or selling reusable bags into their budgets. And it's my hope that many stores do move to selling bags. If they sell a can of beans, then they could sell a bag. So with that, I hope that you will again pass this bill this year and vote favorable on HB 314. Thanks so much.
Thank you. You've got quite a few people who are signed up, so I'm going to entertain questions for the sponsor right now. If anyone has a question, Delegate Clark has his hand raised.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate, as you know, last year I had a few things in this bill that I didn't care for, and you made adjustments to it so that I could, in the end, vote for it, and I appreciate that. Over the interim and just in the last couple of days, as a matter of fact, I received some concerns from the Farm Bureau in St. Mary's County, and also a little bit from the Maryland Farm Bureau. Their concern was, do we have an exemption in the bill that allows for plastic bags to be used in orchards and on the farms that sell fruit and vegetables that are purchased on the farm only? Well, there seems to be a fairly significant amount of these small farmers that actually sell their product, their apples, oranges, other produce, not oranges, but apples and produce on the roadside or at a farmer's market that the county set up for them on certain days of the week. And they would like to have included in this their ability to use plastic bags at their individually owned farm stand or at the farmer's market that the county in Southern Maryland put together and have out there, 2-3 days a week. One of the mainly for convenience sake and the easiness for them to be able to do it. But there also has come to my attention that there is an issue that they may have with the Federal Food and Safety Modernization Act, where some items such as things that can harbor foodborne bacteria cannot be simply put into a reusable bag, i.e. a bag that you bring to the store to pick it up. And putting it using a paper bag is fairly.
Hey, Jerry?
Yeah.
Could you kind of like condense it into a set, to a question she can answer, and then follow it up with another question if you want?
Sure. Yeah. And the question is, would you be amenable to make an adjustment for them to use plastic bags on the farm at their produce stands that tend to be on the highway or at a county ran farmer's market?
I'd be happy to. I know you sent over an amendment. The amendment is much bigger than what you're saying right now. So I'd be happy to talk to you about it. The amendment as you sent is huge, would be a huge exemption. But I'm happy to talk to you about, offline about if there's some way that we could help, meet in the middle or talk more about it. I'm happy to discuss it and, leave it to the committee ultimately, since we have already passed the legislation as it stands. But I'm happy to talk to you about it.
And thank you. And just for sake, I didn't write the amendment. It came from
oh, I know.
From St. Mary's County farmers. So I understand. But yeah, I just want to know that you would work with me to maybe address some of these issues.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank
Say
you.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, you're on mute, Mr. Chair.
Sorry. Next question goes to Delegate Ambrey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Delegate Learman, I love, we share the same issues as bags in our communities. We see them everywhere. And I'm in support of this bill in the sense of what it's aiming to do. The only worry that I have is the beginning time, giving the context of the pandemic and giving the context of small businesses that are struggling, and thinking about those who might have already bought things in bulk, and thinking about all those measures. Is the starting time fair to change, or is that considered? Is the timing of the pandemic and small businesses who have pretty much periodically shut down or are waiting to reopen later, or what have you? Has that been considered in the timing of the bill?
So how we drafted it, it was not supposed to go into effect until July 1, 2022. I'm trying to see, although it says that it takes effect this fall, and I'm not sure why. Yes, no, the intent is for this to not go into effect until July 1, 2022. So a long time.
Okay. I just want to make sure that, just thinking about the small businesses that are, still trying to.
No, I agree. I'm with you. Yep.
And they're going to be working.
I think that actually, I also though think that this provides businesses the opportunity to change their policy around giving away free bags. So, they're able to say, hey, the state's not letting us, do plastic bags. So we're going to change our policy and charge, which ultimately is helpful for them because, this is a cost, and we all go to stores right now where we pay for all the other products that we walk out of the store with. And so we should be paying for the product that we carry out all of those other products with. And certainly a number of stores already charge for bags. And as a result of that, give away many, there's many fewer plastic bags given away from a Lidl or other stores. So I think that I don't actually think ultimately this will harm business, because businesses can charge for the bags, and they should be. That's better. I mean, it's better financial policy for the stores. It's better for, at least the stores that are giving away a lot of bags. it's better for the environment overall. So, and that's, part of the reason that some local jurisdictions have chosen to mandate that stores charge. We chose last year in state legislation not to do that, although we grandfather in any counties that have done that.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Next question goes to Delegate Lehman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Delegate Learman, for bringing this important legislation back. I really admire your capacity. I have two questions / concerns. One is on the thickness issue of the bags. Do you feel that the language on thickness will effectively prevent bag manufacturers and or retailers from going with thicker bags, what I'm going to describe as like department store style, very thick bags, sometimes with handles, to sort of sidestep this?
I think it is a fair question. Certainly municipalities or counties would be free to pass legislation that deals with thicker bags. This only deals with bags that are 4 mils or below. But I think it's something that we can also, discuss over the interim, or that the environmental subcommittee could take up.
Okay. And the second issue goes back to the fact that I believe there is no fee on paper in the bill. And I think that is problematic for a number of obvious reasons. The main one being, for me at least, that the concern whether this will in fact change people's habits. That the intent of these bag laws is to change people's habits and have them not take a bag at all or to bring their own. If people can just say, I'll take paper, because they didn't come with their own bags, just don't give it any thought and switch to paper, I don't see how it's going to change people's habits in the way that we really want to see. I mean, yeah. So that's a question and a concern, I guess.
I cut out for a little bit, but the question and concern is about the lack of a charge on paper. Is that right?
Well, that and the fact that without that, I don't think we're going to achieve the goal of changing people's habits of either foregoing a bag if they're only getting 1 or 2 items, or forgetting or not being incentivized to bring their own bag.
Certainly, it's why I hope that stores charge. I hope that stores decide to charge for bags. It certainly does change behavior, but banning plastic bags has also demonstrated serious behavior change too. And I know that we do have somebody, I think we have somebody who's submitted written testimony, and I think maybe she's giving oral testimony too. I don't have my list right in front of me, who can talk about the behavior change that we've seen just from banning plastic bags. But, certainly the more, when there is a charge, there is more behavior change, but we as a General Assembly, or I should say as a House and as a committee, decided last year that we were going to pass the bill this way. So that is what we did. And so I support this bill as it is.
Okay, last very quick question. So you did make a point of saying the bill does not preempt the counties that are charging for paper. And you're implying that going forward, there is the allowance, assuming this bill becomes law, that individual counties or municipalities could adopt a fee on paper. Is that correct?
They could, yes, they could. A county or municipality, they can't adopt it unless the law or ordinance is authorized by state law. So you could bring a local bill to authorize the county to impose a fee like you have in the past, the same process.
Thank you again. And I do applaud you for sticking with this. And I look forward to a plastic bag-free Maryland. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next question goes to Delegate Healy.
Thank you. Delegate Learman, because of COVID, a lot of people are getting their groceries delivered, and some of the delivery services are connected with large grocery stores. So my question is, does this bill affect how they deliver things as well? I know that when we get things delivered from Giant, for example, most of it comes in plastic bags. It's their choice what they put on it. Does this bill affect them as well?
Yes, they could not put it in plastic bags any longer. They would have to put it in paper, and maybe they would choose to charge you like, many delivery services charge for delivery. They could add on a per bag fee or charge you for the bags, as well. And that is their choice. But yes, they would have to, they would not be able to use plastic bags.
Okay, thank you.
All right, are there any other questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the witnesses who were signed up. I understand that Linda Boyd wants to go first. So Linda, are you there? And welcome back to the committee.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Environment and Transportation Committee. I won't repeat all the wonderful arguments that have been made and reasons why we support this bill. But there's an additional factor that I'd like to bring to your attention. And that is that we believe that God created the world in love, and God created us in love, and God loves the world and loves us. It sounds simplistic, but we believe that it is our duty and obligation to care for the world. That in not caring for the world and allowing plastic bags to pollute the waterways and land and all the bad effects that these plastic bags have had, you've heard, I don't want to repeat it, but in allowing it to happen, we're not creating a safe environment for our children and grandchildren. It's our duty to protect this world and do everything we can. And this is a measure that we believe would go a far way toward that. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions?
We're going to take questions at the end of all the witnesses in favor. So next up is Martha Ainsworth. Martha, welcome to the committee. Martha?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, Chairman Barbe, Vice Chair Stein, and committee members. I'm Martha Ainsworth, Chair of the Maryland Sierra Club Zero Waste Team, speaking on behalf of more than 75,000 members and supporters of the Maryland Sierra Club. The Plastic Bag Reduction Act would ban plastic carryout bags in Maryland starting on July 1st, 2022. It's one of the priority bills for the Sierra Club, and we urge you to support it as you did in 2020. We've submitted written testimony with evidence to support the following facts. The world is facing a plastic pollution crisis. Carryout bags are a major culprit. Humans may be ingesting up to a credit card's worth of plastic a week. Marylanders are using nearly 2 billion plastic carryout bags annually. More than 3/4 of Maryland grocery shoppers are using plastic carryout bags. Increased recycling is not going to solve the problem. We know that plastic bag ban and fee laws across the country and the world are effective. And in fact, in Howard County, thanks to the 5-cent fee on plastic bags, half of grocery shoppers are now using reusable bags or forgoing bags altogether. The bill would ban single-use plastic carryout bags as of July 1st, 2022. But to further incentivize shoppers to switch to reusable bags, retailers should consider charging for other bags provided at checkout, just they do for other merchandise, to echo Delegate Lehrman's argument. At grocery chains that don't offer plastic bags and charge for other bags, more than 90% of shoppers bring their own bag or forgo bags altogether. We need to enact this bill now so that we can say goodbye to plastic bags in July of 2022. Every year we wait, another 2 billion plastic carryout bags are released into Maryland's environment. The Sierra Club respectfully requests a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Adam Ortiz.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Adam Ortiz, Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection. I want to express my gratitude to Delegate Lehrman and to the committee last year in your wisdom in passing this bill. I am here in support, asking for favorable. because it is the taxpayers who are stuck with the bill for cleanup for plastic bags, both in the recycling and waste system as well as the environment. It's been mentioned earlier, but I know firsthand for almost a decade of working with recycling facilities that the major reason that there's work stoppages, that the whole line stops and every employee has to stop sorting recycling, is because of clogging from these plastic bags that get into the machinery and clog it up and create a safety hazard. So those are folks that are trying to do the right thing, putting it in the recycling stream. It is not recyclable, but meant for a variety of reasons people think it is, and that's a big problem. But then the stuff that does not get into the waste stream, the stuff that ends up on the side of the road, is a big nuisance. And even just this morning, I saw 10 plastic bags running an errand this morning, like Delegate Learman said. So we have to clean this up because it's so clear. And unlike other pollutants, we know exactly where it's coming from and we can stop it. It's also worth noting that for our county, I know Prince George's County, and I believe Baltimore City and Baltimore County, they have requirements, TMDL, to clean up trash. It is a pollutant, just like nitrogen or phosphorus. And if we don't get to it, it breaks down, becomes microplastics that are a hazard to the environment, something that we're held accountable for. I also want to speak in support and want to thank Delegate Learman for supporting the ability for localities to have their own programs in connection to this in Montgomery County. We've had our own program for many years, and we've been able to retain some of the funding from a local bag tax to go into cleaning up litter, education programs in the schools, and also enforcement for litter. So at the end of the day, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is a bill that saves taxpayers money because we're stuck with the cleanup from this nuisance. And if people want to do the right thing, it's really simple. Just bring a bag. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, John Weber. Mr. Weber.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the Ocean City chapter of the Surfrider Foundation, I urge you to support HB 314 to regulate and restrict the use of certain plastic bags. Surfrider Foundation is a nonprofit dedicated to the protection and enjoyment of our world's oceans, waves, and beaches. Our chapter, located in Ocean City, holds multiple beach cleanups a year. We find plastic bags in every single cleanup we do, and not always whole and intact plastic bags, but usually ripped, torn, and shredded and degrading and falling apart plastic bags. And that's how they're entering our waterways. You know, plastic bags have been historically given away for free to customers as a measure of convenience. However, unlike other forms of single-use plastic bags are not recyclable at the curbside, has already been said. And in the recycling stream, they clog machines, they devalue the plastic that is being recovered as recyclable, and they reduce the efficiency of recycling operations. So waste haulers and landfills and county authorities, they're the ones burdened with the cost and the handling and disposing of these bags. These costs are inconveniently passed on to consumers in the form of litter abatement bills and eventually in taxes. In other words, the convenience of a free plastic bag comes at a great cost. This law imparts no undue burden on consumers or on merchants. Rather, we're just establishing a common sense policy that forces us to account for the true cost of convenience. I implore you to vote yes and pass this bill. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go to, I've seen his name somewhere before, Shane Robinson.
Hi, Mr. Chair. How are you?
Okay, before we start the 2-minute timer, dude, what is up with the mustache and the hair? I mean, you know, there are COVID-safe places to go and get your hair cut. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I'm close to it, Mr. Chairman. I'm close to it. The mustache is because I'm still ski patrolling, and to get a good fit with an N95 mask, I had to shave the beard, but I didn't want to shave it all.
Okay. All right. Good to see you again, Delegate Robinson.
Good to see you too. Thank you. And thanks to everybody else on the committee and anybody from ECM that happens to be in the room. I'm from Trash Free Maryland. My name is Shane Robinson. We're in support of HB 314. A lot's already been said about the environmental and health consequences of plastic bags in the environment. So I won't go through what you've already passed. The only difference this year, as Delegate Learman already mentioned, is that the effective date is a year and a half from now. It's July 1st, 2021, which gives everybody a lot of time to get ready for this very good and simple thing that you've already passed. The only thing I want to speak to is just the issue of paper before, which was taken out of the bill. As a representative of Trash Free Maryland and an advocate on this, plastic really is something that stands alone, and it's good to get plastic out of our waste stream and out of the environment at large if it gets out of the waste stream on its own. By passing this bill, you can stop the microplastics that would be ingested by wildlife and end up in our food system and in the air and everywhere else just by passing this bill. As far as other materials and other types of single-use products, we can handle those in the future in other legislation. Right now, I think this is a really good bill, and we're in support. You do what you did last year and pass HB 314. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shane. Next, we're going to go to Ali Dysart. Ali, you out there? Alexander Dysart?
Hi. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you and see you.
Awesome. Okay, so greetings. On behalf of Moms Organic Market, I'd like to express our support for the statewide plastic bag ban. I'm the environmental manager for Moms. I'm also a Trash Free Maryland board member. 1 million plastic bags are used each minute. As a grocery store, we at Moms know there are many alternatives to using plastic bags. We banned plastic bags company-wide in 2005 and moved to providing only paper bags and compostable bags. At Moms, we offer customers a 10-cent incentive to bring in their own bags. Company-wide in 2020, customers brought in 7,500 bags every day, about 3 million bags per year. This shows us that incentivizing good, sustainable, habitual behavior truly works. This year, we will open our 21st store, so making the switch to a positive environmental practice 16 years ago in no way impeded our growth as a business. Why are plastic bags so bad? The average amount of time a customer will use a plastic bag is actually less than 12 minutes. They're just a carrying agent to transport one item from one place to another. There's absolutely no reason to provide a customer something they will use for a few minutes that will still be here littering the planet 500 years from now. Some people might think, but aren't plastic bags recyclable? No, they are not. As a company with a very extensive recycling and composting program, we at Moms are not able to find any companies interested in taking and recycling plastic bags. There is not a market for this waste. There's not one locally, not regionally, and not abroad. There are also no public works departments, Maryland municipalities, counties, or cities, or curbside recycling programs that allow plastic bags for recycling. If they don't biodegrade and they can't be recycled, then they need to be banned. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. You have the opportunity to be leaders on this issue, and I urge you to vote favorably on banning plastic bags statewide. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I believe the last person, no, not the last person, the next person to testify in favor is Dan Simons. Dan?
Yes, hello, thank you. So my name's Dan Simons. I'm the co-owner of 7 restaurants. One of my restaurants, called Founding Farmers, is in Montgomery County, Maryland. My other restaurants are in DC, Virginia, and Pennsylvania, and I also co-own a distillery called Founding Spirits. I'm a business person and a restaurateur. I know the business of business. I understand the impact of the pandemic across retail, restaurants, and hospitality, and I absolutely support a ban on traditional plastic bags. For anyone who says now is not the time, I say, sure it is. First of all, this ban doesn't even go into effect till 2022, and regardless, plastic bags cost us far more than they save us. It's the obligation of every person to think about the society, the planet, future generations, and frankly, with anything but a completely selfish view, it's obvious single-use plastic bags, maybe with some sensible exceptions, should be banned. We were told we'd go out of business if we banned smoking cigarettes. Did we? No, we were fine. I was told I'd never be able to afford to compost all the food waste from our restaurants. Can we? Yes, absolutely, and I do. There's an entire wave of business people, partially based on generational change, but more so based on what I think of as the awakening of conscious capitalism, whose voices I'm concerned that you don't usually hear. There are more stakeholders in a business than just the investor. There's the customer, employees, the community, the environment, the planet, the supply chain. These are all stakeholders. And our legislation and regulation and our business decisions should take in a balanced stakeholder view. I promise businesses do not need traditional plastic bags in order to succeed. We can thrive with the bio and marine degradable alternatives along with reusable bags. We can thrive by passing legislation that shows investors and manufacturers they have a huge opportunity to invest in innovation and new products that don't require fossil fuels to make and litter the planet for hundreds of years. And I will debate or debunk any business person or business association that takes a different position on this. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak today.
Thank you. And I believe the last person signed up to testify in favor is Cheryl Bryant. Cheryl, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good to see you. Got 2 minutes. Welcome.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Chairman Barve and committee members. My name is Reverend Cheryl Bryant, and I have lived in Baltimore City for over 60 years. I'm the Vice President of the East Sector of the Patterson Park Neighborhood Association. I organize community cleanups, and I'm the Director of Christian Education at Freedom Baptist Missionary Church, located in the Bel Air, Edison area of Baltimore City. I'm here today to show my support for HB 314. As a minister of the gospel, I understand that God has placed mankind on this earth to be good stewards of our environment. This is a job that we can't take lightly. We have to take care of our environment to ensure a healthy place for us to live in now and to guarantee a healthier, cleaner place as a legacy for our children and future generations to live in. Thankfully, Baltimore City has already established a zero waste policy and has passed a plastic bag ban a couple of years ago. Since plastic bag waste has no respect for city boundaries, we now need to do this on the state level. There are hundreds, even thousands of unwanted plastic bags littering the streets of our great state. They lie in our gutters, ending up in the Chesapeake Bay, killing fish and damaging our seafood industry. They hang from our trees like grotesque ornaments, and on windy days, they fly over our heads like ghostly figurines. Nobody needs these bags. It's already been stated that they can't be recycled, and that's why banning these bags makes sense. This bill serves as an incentive to do the right thing. We must begin to eliminate plastic bags from our waste stream to reach a goal of zero waste in order to change the behavior of our friends, families, and neighborhood members. Let's show the world that Maryland really is the land of pleasant living and cares about our environment by making it a cleaner, greener state for all of us to live in. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain questions now. The first question appears to go to Delegate Otto. Charles.
Well, I'd have thought others would have had more questions than I do, but one of the questions I had was...
well, Charles, we're stuck with you right now.
Yeah, you're stuck with me now, I guess. There's no fee in this bill for additional for paper or this, that, and the other. That's not part of it. It's similar to the last year's bill that we passed.
There's no fee. It's the bill that we passed last year, but with the date changed. And I did find where the date is. It's on page 3, line 13. It goes into effect on or after July 1st, 2022.
Can we make it October the 1st, 2022?
Will you vote for it?
Well, we'll consider it. I mean, that's getting pretty close to November the 3rd of 2022.
Well, we'll have already passed it.
Well, we can consider that. We'll go from there. But I do have issues. I mean, this is a health issue as well. I mean, thank God for the plastic bags in the last year. I mean, to carry things out and you knew it had come from a news source, and it was, probably pretty proven that nobody had touched it and was passing germs around. And I can't imagine forcing people to carry cotton bags in there after, that they're washing with their masks and all that. It's had beef and milk leaking into it and this, that, and the other. I mean, it's atrocious to me that we're attacking this industry. I agree with you. I think we have a trash problem, not or a litter problem, not a plastic bag problem. And I thank you for bringing up the issue, and we'll talk about it.
Thank you, Delegate. I'm sure other people might have responses as well, but I just want you to know that, in fact, studies have found that COVID lasts on plastic up to 6 days. It is not the cleaner alternative that you may think. COVID actually, from the studies I've read, lasts on paper for a shorter amount of time than on plastic.
Well, I'm not reusing the plastic bags other than, for carrying the trash out of the house, be honest with you, but we'll talk about it. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
And I don't know if others have points that they want to make about plastic, but.
I actually have a question for Adam Ortiz, if he's still here. Adam, you here? Oh.
There I am, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, there you are. So I ordinarily, I don't use very much plastic, but I get plastic bags when I go to the dry cleaners. And what I do is one of the places I shop at is the Giant on Rockville Pike. I'm sure you're familiar with it. And they have a bin for plastic bags. So I take the plastic bags that I got my shirts and suits in and stuff that in there. What becomes of that? Do they just send it to the incinerator? What's going on with that, big bin of plastic bags that is collected?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. You're doing the right thing, Mr. Chairman. The best thing to do is to bring it back, and most of those big retailers have those collection boxes up front. Where they're supposed to go is to basically construction companies that reuse and create sort of a plastic composite for construction materials. So you've probably seen decking or picnic tables that are made of that sort of plasticky particle material. The one in this region historically has been the Trex company, which is based outside of Winchester, Virginia. But we've received reports that they have more than they can handle and that they're actually turning that away. And Mr. Chairman, you may want to, in a sensitive time, ask Alex that question, because at Moms, they've had some concerns and have been a little more on the front line of that relationship since they've been collecting those bags as well.
Yeah, Alex, if you want to chime in, I'd be happy to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I do want to say that COVID lives the longest on plastic bags. So if you have a plastic bag, you're using a plastic bag, it lives way longer than on reusable bags or paper bags. And if we can remember to bring our masks now to the stores, we can also remember to bring our reusable bags. Back to the Trex thing, we tried to partner with Trex. They don't need any more bags. They also, you have to store 40,000 pounds of plastic bags. The plastic bags have to be clear. They can't be mixed in with like a black bag that maybe you got something from Amazon in, or some other kind of thickness of a bag. It has to be the same kind of plastic bag. So it has to be all from a grocery store, all from a dry cleaners, or all from wrapping around pallets and things like that. And it has to be 40,000 pounds. It has to be clean. It has to be dry. You have to store that somewhere. That's the size of a semi truck. Now, most businesses, mom and pop stores especially, and smaller grocery stores, we don't have a warehouse where we can just store 40,000 pounds of plastic waste for Trex to one day want it. And then Trex can also come in and say, hey, this is 5% contaminated. We are not going to take any of it. Now it just goes to the incinerator and the landfill in Baltimore City or wherever. So no, Trex is not really an actual option unless you're maybe Target and you can store this kind of stuff for 3 or 4 months, but we can't.
Okay, very interesting. Delegate Stewart has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a quick question for Mr. Simons, if he's still with us. Mr. Simons, I found your testimony very compelling as a business owner, and I know that y'all don't use any plastic bags at Founding Farmers firsthand, because I live in Montgomery County and we order delivery from Founding Farmers probably too frequently for me to even admit. My son, who's 2, really enjoys the pancakes in particular. So I would be remiss, he would be mad at me if I didn't mention that. But I just wanted to give you, you mentioned rebutting, claims from business owners about the burdens of this. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to address this health concern specifically. I mean, I know we've touched on it already in terms of, infection rates on different types of bags with COVID, but I know that the opponents will be prepared to harp on that point from the perspective of business owners. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to, explain, any reticence that your employees have had about, handling non-plastic materials, or, what experience you've had generally dealing with the use of bags during the pandemic.
So thank your son for me. I'm glad he loves the pancakes. Look, I don't know how to say this. Talking about COVID as related to plastic bags is ridiculous. I mean, it holds no water. It's nothing to do with it. And this bill goes into effect in 2022, which frankly, as far as I'm concerned, is too late anyways, right? It should have been however long ago. So forgive my snarkiness, but your direct question, would my employees have any concerns about using non-plastic bags or something? No, of course not. We're currently doing it now. And let me say too, I do sometimes use plastic bags in my business. They hold up better when I have to put something under refrigeration. But you know what? Ban them. I will adapt. So there is no COVID relevance. And thank you for asking me.
Okay, Delegate Otto has a question. Delegate Otto?
Did I unmute? Can you hear me?
You have now.
All right, you can hear me now. I'm wondering why somebody's ordering pancakes and getting them in plastic bags. You can get the mix in a paper box and just add a little bit of water and heat the stove up briefly, and they make nice pancakes. Aunt Jemima's a good one.
Okay, all right.
Others.
All right.
So I'll leave it at that. I think that's the degradation that our questions went to. So.
Well, thank you for accelerating that trend, Delegate. By the way, we do have 3 people from the Economic Matters Committee here. It occurs to me that maybe you didn't know that we knew you were there, but we did. If you have any questions, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to proceed to the opponents of the bill. So that's what I'm going to do. The opponents of the bill are Zachary Taylor, I assume not the president, Kaylee Locklear, Melvin Thompson. So let's go with Zachary Taylor first.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Zachary Taylor. I'm here today on behalf of the American Recyclable Plastic Bag Alliance. We represent the U.S. manufacturers and recyclers of plastic bags, including 160 or so jobs in Howard County. We've heard a lot today about bags. I'm happy for the opportunity to talk about it. I think the biggest concern with this bill, despite opinions to the contrary, is that we don't know where we'll be in 2022 as it relates to the economic recovery. And we've seen challenges related to getting bags. Right now, there's a shortage of paper bags across the country. It's expected to take years to resolve. There's also increasing demand for reusable bags, which are also largely made out of plastic. ARPBA thinks that this is a time for us to come together, continue to talk about this important issue, and consider pursuing policies that have been adopted elsewhere in the state to great success, as was noted by some of the other people who shared their thoughts today. I think most notably, 3 weeks ago, Baltimore itself chose to delay its plastic bag ban for a few months, but reserved the right to extend it further given the circumstances. I think that's important. City Council President Mosby, I want to share a comment from him in that release about why they didn't want to do it right now. Not in the midst of this crisis where it would bring the greatest burden to our neighbors who are already fighting to meet even basic needs. Well, for small businesses and communities who are hurting, it's going to take a long time for them to recover. And banning plastic bags is going to force them to have to acquire alternative, more expensive products, which at costs they can probably not afford if they can even find them. What does that mean? It's going to be higher costs for consumers who are struggling, and that $1 or $2 every time they go to a store and forget the reusable bag is going to be a burden on them. And so I'd like to offer us as a resource to work with this committee, and particularly the bill sponsor, to consider moving in a different direction that can still meet the sustainability objectives of Maryland. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Kaylee Locklear. Kaylee, welcome back to the committee.
Of course, it takes me a minute. Sorry about that, Mr. Chairman. Honorable members of the committee, it's nice to see all of you for the first time this year. Happy New Year. I submitted written. I'm jumping in between this committee and Finance Committee, so I am going to have to leave pretty quickly. But as we discussed last year, our organization cannot support this legislation without a price floor and without statewide preemption. It's really disappointing for us. A lot of work went into that bill from last year that has been drastically changed. I do want to thank the sponsor and the advocates. There's years of work behind that, but you know, we are where we are right now. A price floor provides a level playing field on paper to help cover just some of the costs for as many retailers as possible. And Delegate Lehman touched on this, but it definitely changes consumer behavior because one is not better than the other. We discussed the paper bag shortage last year, which has come to fruition. So coupled with all these paper bag plant closures that then happened with COVID, numerous states and localities had to allow plastic bag usage as paper bags became unavailable. And then yes, health concerns. I heard some of those comments earlier. I'm going to choose the path of being respectful to others and their opinions. But most store employees will not handle reusable bags in the current climate, either due to store policies or their own health concerns. And I also want to mention for the committee that grocery unions had publicly asked for temporary returns to plastic during the pandemic as well, because they did not want employees handling recyclable bags or reusable bags. Consumers have also been very vocal to stores about not even wanting someone's reusable bag on the same surface as where their items are touching. So grocery stores, I've heard quite a lot of complaints around that, and that's something I just wanted to make you all aware of. So with these comments in mind, we urge an unfavorable report, but I am glad, as always, to work with the committee and implore you all, please consider revisiting the price floor and one law in our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaylee. And the final witness against the bill, Melvin Thompson, and then we'll proceed to questions. Melvin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Melvin Thompson. I represent the Restaurant Association of Maryland, and I'm also in ECM and Senate Finance simultaneously. So I'll try to be very brief here. The Restaurant Association is also opposed to this legislation, just as we were last year. You may recall that restaurants use both plastic and paper bags according to their needs. Plastic bags are generally used for things that are prone to leaking, and restaurants use the most cost-effective option to suit their needs. We're opposed to this legislation because it does not allow for the restaurants to continue using such. And there are restaurants that have lower menu prices that make it very difficult for them to absorb the higher costs of paper bags. Not all restaurants have the same menu prices and the ability to absorb those costs. And so there are restaurants who will have challenges meeting their costs for those alternative paper bags. And it will be a challenge for them to pass those costs on to customers who are very price sensitive. And for those reasons, we oppose this bill and request an unfavorable report. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? I saw a hand up at one point, but it looks like the hand's gone back down. So unless there are any, oh, yeah, Delegate Boyce, go ahead.
Sorry, I sometimes just like it blocks, but I just wanted to ask a question of the opponents. Just, you know, during this pandemic, there have been some industries that have certainly have been hurt through the pandemic, and there's other ones that have kind of risen to the top. And I would just say, wouldn't you say that the food industry has been one industry that continues to thrive because we all have to eat?
Who'd like to crack at
Answer that.
Well, I will go first. You know, we all have heard and understand some of the challenges that all businesses are going through right now during this pandemic. And the restaurant industry has been hit particularly hard during this pandemic. It's true that we do continue to provide food for carry out and delivery and curbside pickup, but it is challenging right now for a lot of our businesses to stay afloat. And yes, we do continue to provide food service, but we use the bags that are appropriate for the restaurant's needs, depending on what they're selling. And so, yes, we do continue to have the ability to do that, and we'd like to retain that ability to make our own choices based on the restaurant's needs.
Yeah, I mean, I really said that to just try to counter the point about the inability to take on any additional cost, in that, unlike other businesses, while the restaurant businesses in particular aren't doing 100% of their businesses because so many of us have supported, they are still, and at least the mid-sized ones are still in businesses and grocery stores. I mean, people are in grocery stores every single minute of every single day. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I won't be able to address the grocery store part of your question. I apologize.
No, I was just putting that out there. Thank you.
Any further questions for the opponents to the bill? Okay, not seeing any more questions. That will conclude the public hearing on House Bill 314. That will also conclude the public hearings for this afternoon. Announcements. What subcommittee chairs have announcements? Anyone? No one?
I do.
Oh, David, go for it.
Yeah, we traditionally have subcommittee at 5:30, but since we're getting out a little early, I was thinking maybe we could move that up so people could move on. Am I seeing any thumbs up or thumbs down? What time is it now? 4 o'clock work?
I have something right at 4. Could we do it like a little before, a little after?
How long do you need?
15 minutes.
Okay, 4:15. Just because we have a couple of bills and I want to make sure. I'd like to do it earlier, but I don't want to run over and then you get jammed up.
3:45.
I mean, I can tell them I'll be late. Yes.
Okay, then 3:45. I think Regina.
4 o'clock.
3:45.
A quarter to four.
Okay, fine. 3:45.
Why don't you
I'm not gonna vote
exercise
on-
executive fiat and make it?
I know, that's what I'm going to do. That you're absolutely right, Mr. Chairman. I have learned that 3:45 today. That's the last time I ask.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other subcommittee chairs? Nope. Okay. Just want to remind you of a couple of things. Number one, if you have blue backs, as I apparently just got for an administrative bill, make sure you drop them in the hopper. Apparently you can pick up your blue backs in the joint hearing room, and we will have our first voting session after the public hearing tomorrow. And so I look forward to seeing you then. And does anybody have an announcement before I adjourn? Okay, we're adjourned. See you tomorrow. Take care.
Thank you.